All right, so this is our final project for Computer Science 205 at Bucknell University. What we decided to make was a snake game.
Okay, so about this project, for our project, it's really based on the most traditional and popular good old snake game from the good old Nokia, and from that we want to create really some like creative snake game because we really love this game, and I think we can do more potential to this game to make it like more creative and more interesting. So for that, for the creativity, we made the most nice the function which is the multiplayer and network gaming. So in that way, you can play your snake game with your friends, and now they can compete each other, and you will all have a great time when during the during this COVID-19. And so to make that the snake, we have the object oriented principles to code to structure our design. So for organize the code, and also by that we also implemented the JavaFX MVC model, and which is the key core snake design for our whole snake game.
So the background is, like mentioned before, we based it off of the classic snake game made in the 90s, but that one was just with a single snake and just food. So we implemented, as you can see in the image, the potion and poison. Poison subtracts life from your snake, and potion adds some to the snake. And our large innovation was that we would implement the multiplayer feature. And this would allow up to 4 players. And now the goal, instead of getting the snake as long as you can, is to be the last man standing. And it's a lot more fun.
Here we have the UML diagram for our project. We have our game asset, which is an abstract class for snake and item to make it less work. So the game asset has properties of velocities and rotation, and snake and item inherits from game asset, and snake network, it works from background and handle of the networking. Down here we have the MVC part of the project, and then we get to the main where we run the game itself. We also have a lot of interfaces to handle the magic numbers.
So the user interface is shown. Well, this is what happens after you run the program, whether that be through the instructions in the README on how to run the .jar file, or just running the main. It will result in the window in the upper left corner. So what you do is you enter in a port number under the host game section, as shown in that image in the upper left, and it's a random number between 1,000 and a high number like 50,000, and you just put whatever you want as a port number. And then players is however many players you want. And if you want to do single player, you enter in 1 for that, and you hit host, and you'll start the game by yourself. But if you want to have multiple players, you enter in however many you want, and you hit host. And then the people trying to join the game will enter in that top box the host's IP address and the port number that the host chose. And then everybody will have the waiting for players box in the upper right until all the players join. And then the box in the lower left will be what happens when you start. All the snakes are frozen till someone moves. And then the goal is to survive as long as you can. And the lower right shows the winning snake. And also in the lower left corner of the lower left box, it shows which player you are. So it shows the color of your snake so you can differentiate it. And also the white text box helps with the actions that happen in the game, the events with game over or which player wins and collisions and other stuff like that. So now it's demonstration time. Started the host game there with the port number 1234, and I have my IP address over on the side here, and we're waiting for Lawrence and Tung to join.
Yeah. So I'm now opening the jar from the repository. So wait a second. Okay, here is the comments that we would that the comment of the opening the jar file. So you can see here the module path, the directory path after the module path is the JavaFS library I just downloaded from the link given in the README in our repository, and we will need to add modules, Java controls, and we have this jar file from in our repository from this. So now I'm going to run it, and now we'll go. And now I'm going to join the game. So the IP, yeah, and the ports, nice. And now we will start.
All right. Then we start by hitting the arrow key, and our snake starts to move. And the objective is to be the last snake on the screen. And also, you can tell which snake you are by the little icon in the lower left that says player 1. For mine, it says player 1 and then red. So that means I'm the red snake, just so you can tell when the game starts off.
Yeah. So here my hit me and is like the blue, so it's the player 3. So
and also the white text box updates, like that when a player has a collision.
It says here player to hit the walk, which is the thing run. And now we also have this only me and that. That is the pointer. If I edit, my length is smaller. Okay, so now
I win because he collided with my tail.
Yeah, so this is how our game goes.
Yep.
The Scrum experiences, I have identified 5 key user stories that is really important for our Scrum process during the making of the snake game. So the first one is, as a player, I want to be able to control my character with keyboard inputs. So here we want the user to actually control the snake using the keyboard input, so that the user can play the snake. So this is one basic thing that we have here. And the second one is, as a player, I want to see this game board. So the game board is the view and the menu that when the user first enters. So when the user just first entering the snake game, as I just demonstrate, it shows a join game and a host game. That is where the user wants to join other player game or host a game by itself. After that, you can also see a game board that's showing all 3 snakes together and some items and the wall. That is how we play the game. The player play the game with their friends to have fun. This is another key user story. And another one is I want to see my snake. And this is an extension from the game board. So pretty much you can see the snake, how I'm using keyboard input to control the snake to turn around, to turn left, turn right, to eat an item. That's all depends on me if I want to win the game. This is the game object I have. As we implementing the snake, we use the snake tail and also the snake from the game asset, and we implement it so that the snake parts are following what I just controlled, as I just demonstrated before. And the fourth one and the fifth one are all connected to the multiplayer network. Input the rule number to join the host and share the rule number so that other players can join. So these 2 things are the key multiplayer network that we implemented so that our users can actually join and host other people so that everybody can play together.
So with the Scrum process, we have the strengths and weaknesses here. So the strengths were that directly from the user stories, we could create issues easily. And these issues could easily be assigned to milestones, such as like the different sprints. And this allowed us to keep our priorities in order when going through the issues and assigning each person each issue and staying on task with what we had to get done. It was really helpful for a group environment. But the weaknesses were the time estimations for these issues. it varied a lot because sometimes time estimates were way too low or way too high, and both would be extremely detrimental to the project because then some things took higher priority when they weren't expected to, or lower priority. So that unexpected problem, or that unexpected issue was pretty bad sometimes.
And we get to the challenges part of the project. So except for weaknesses, that Franco just mentioned it, and coronavirus, we have a lot of problems with multiplayer networking, which caused a lot of time, and it had a lot of connection issues and visual bugs that we had to fix. The menus for the game also had some bugs as well. The making of proper jar file also cost us some good time. Good time indeed.
So what we learned from this project, I learned the capabilities of the JavaFX library because a lot of it wasn't what we worked on in this project was not touched up on in Lab 12, which was just basic how to use it. And also I got to appreciate the Scrum process and how to work in a team in general. And also how I learned how to, as the product owner, how to like successfully manage the team and make sure we were on task the whole time and get the project done.
I had the chance to practice and receive pair programming in this project and team programming as well with Scrum, and I learned a great deal about JavaFX and just how painful Java files are.
So for me, I also learned how to make a good video game using the JavaFX and Java networking, and I think these are really good things when I'm like playing socket and networking with other people. I also learned how the JavaFX like input and output port and IP can let the players can connect together using the networking. That's I really appreciate. And there's a very useful ways of implementation of game object in the game. Like for example, here I heard from the suggestion from the Chris that all game objects can be implemented using the JavaFX circles, and that's a really some basic implementation thought and design when we are like designing every game. And unfortunately, the Chris cannot be here because of the time conflicts. So now for Chris, he learned how to implement animation time in JavaFX, which is the Java ticker. He can make it like 60 times update 60 times per second. That's the 16 frames per second. And he also know how to get user keystrokes and use them as input. So for the Snake Game 2.0 future, as we know, we made our Snake game pretty good, and we made multiplayer. We made every creative object that we can play together, and we also have like compete like each other. And however, we also want to like trying to like make an option to run faster, to turn faster, so that they will be more challenging for player to control the snake. But however, it is also more interesting. More challenge, they will be more interesting. And the next one is we want to calculate the score. We want to calculate score because this is one of the unfinished research stories that we have determined. We used to have this calculate score, but however, due to the underestimated time for the Scrum process, we are unable to finish the score system for our game. And with the score, we can actually see how players play well, like eating items, increasing scores. Like we will just know that we will just have a score system, like which player played the best, having a compete system, and it will become more interesting and more fun. And the last one, the more ambitious one we have is the SUBG Snake Unknown Battlegrounds. Like we can have like just some like every snake to compete each other only one player wins, and we want to like implement a really big map, not just a simple rectangle room. We have like multiple walls, like multiple like small rooms, multiple things. That's so that snake can really compete each other, bring more fun, and also actually to like to having a harder challenge for us to implement it using the different objects and different snakes, and also challenge us for the implementation of network and sockets. So that's it.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.